time I start, I get cut off at the beginning. So I'm going to say it again. Hello, lovely people. Hopefully, the sound is working. Hopefully, the teens and the grandchild and whoever else is in this house and the dogs and the cats will leave us alone for about 20 minutes. And let's talk about anxiety relief. Let's talking about being at your best. Let's talking about acting like a fear mechanic. That fear mechanic thing I'm testing out because I'm thinking of doing a book in the next month, actually titled Fear Mechanic, and using fear as a means of achieving the person you're supposed to be, right? Um, I also want to start out by saying that if you're new here, the tools that I'm going to hopefully provide that you'll hopefully use, because I can provide everything, but if you're not going to use them, then hey, what are we doing here? Um, it's not about perfection. It's about staying in the game. I'm coming to you from a rainy, windy day in onion farming country in upstate New York. Um, I was going to say you can probably see my face and tell that I'm tired, but I kind of always look like this. But I think it's important because I have committed to doing this every week. And, while I've got a couple of nasty people who, I mean, I don't know why they're here if they want to send me poop emojis, but the majority of people who have been watching this have given me good feedback. I'd like to bring this to a wider audience because I think that the physical damage that this pandemic is causing is going to or is already being matched by the emotional and psychological damage. Now, I'm not a professional, but I do have some things that have helped me out. Most of them have a scientific basis, and my job is just to bring them to you. And if you don't need them, tell your friends, right? Tell your friends, look, I understand you're feeling overwhelmed. There's this crazy guy, and once we nail down a regular time, tell him to come here. And please send me information on what a good day and time is, because that would really help me figure this out. So we're going to talk about energy, mindfulness, relaxation, and if you've been here before, you'll know that we always kind of start with something called heart coherence. So what I want you to do is imagine you're breathing from your heart. The breath is coming into your heart and out of your heart. And you're going to achieve your best coherence by doing something like 5 seconds on the inhale, 5 seconds on the exhale. There are other patterns that we've talked about that we can play with, but for now, and most people should be able to do this, is 5 seconds on the inhale, 5 seconds on the exhale. So let's center yourself somatically, because a lot of times most of us are too often up in our heads and we lose touch with our bodies. And that's part of the problem. So, and again, I'm going to be coming at you with a lot of stuff. Please feel free to contact me. If it's like I wasn't clear on that one thing, what were the other two techniques, that kind of thing. I would love to let you grab these tools. I'm going to try to put them up on a website or a platform or something so that people who are interested can have a ready access to them. Okay. So center your heart and center the breath in your heart. Place your hands over your heart if that is helpful for you to locate that and help you with the imagining of the breath coming in. So 5 seconds in, 2, 3, 4, 5, breathing in through your heart and out through your heart in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The breaths, if at all possible, in and out, should be through the nose for a variety of reasons. And so in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale using the diaphragm. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As the breath comes in through the heart, as you're imagining that breath coming in, think of something that or someone that you appreciate, that you're grateful for as you take that breath in, and express your love and gratitude and appreciation back to them through the exhale. 4, 3, 2, One, bring that in again. Gratitude, appreciation, love, and exhale. And one more time as you bring that love, gratitude, and appreciation in. On the exhale, send it out to everybody on this Facebook Live, YouTube, wherever we're going, to the world, to the people in your house, to the people on your block, to the people in your neighborhood. Okay, good. And let me know how that works for you, okay? So there's the heart coherence technique. Um, One of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to what's called widening the window. We want to widen the window so that ultimate goal would be if we could become anti-fragile. That then anti-fragile, Nassim Taleb, I guess, coined that term or at least made it famous. It's beyond resiliency. Being anti-fragile means in times of chaos you kind of thrive. And frankly, one of the things I work through is my guilt because frankly, in times of chaos is when I'm at my best. And so I play games with myself thinking, well, what does that mean for me? Who am I? Am I a bad person for that? Um, I don't give it a lot of thought, but I give it some thought. Um, but the goal is to be able to take the things that we're going through now, the challenges that you're facing, and ask. You may have heard this term. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, why is this happening for me? And exploring that. Okay. I'm going to give you another centering technique because part of the what happens is we can become anxious or fearful, resentful about the past and the future. You can't fear the future. I mean, the past can't fear the past, but you can fear the future, become anxious about the future. You can also become anxious about thoughts in the past. And where our thoughts go is where our attention and energy goes. And some of the best ways to make sure we're in the best place when things kind of start to overtake us is by centering ourselves. And one of the ways you can do that is by noticing if you're, I assume most of you are sitting down. Some of you may be standing up, anxiously poised for every word. That would be great. Let me know who you are. And if you're sitting down, notice your sit bones in wherever you're sitting, the bed, the chair, wherever, the stool. Notice how that feels. Notice how your arms or back are being supported or how they aren't. Notice where your head is placed on your shoulders. Hopefully it's fairly centered and back and not too far forward. I get on my kids about that forward head posture, which can cause a lot of other issues, but hopefully that's not you. We can work on that if it is, right? Because it's about somatic awareness as well as being intentional with our thoughts. So your sit bones, your shoulders, the support, notice where your breath is from. Remember, it should be coming from the diaphragm. And in taking a full breath, and there are different schools of thought on this, take a look at the book Oxygen Advantage. That is kind of built on something called Buteyko breathing. And his contention, and he backs it up with science, is that if we try to take a full breath in, that and do too many of those, that creates tension, that messes up what should be a more balanced oxygen carbon dioxide exchange. And we should in fact be in slight air hunger, and that helps oxygen get to our blood cells and so forth. So that's one school of thought. There are other schools of thought that say that we should set aside periods of time to do deep breathing. Regardless of which of these things that you end up believing, please breathe from the diaphragm and please breathe through your nose. If you can do those two things in terms of principles, then we're good. So in centering yourself and as you breathe, think of three things that you can see. And for those of you who have your eyes closed, if you have your eyes closed, those could be pictures you're making right in, with your eyes closed. But if your eyes are open, notice the things directly ahead of you, not just the screen, not just me, but I can be one of those things. The screen can be one of those things. Gaze out at the periphery. What do you notice in your peripheral vision? Three things you see. Now, three things you feel: the weight, the pressure on the chair, or whatever you're sitting or laying on. How are your feet positioned? The feeling of your breath as you're taking it in. And you can choose three things you feel, and then three things you hear. Could be the sound of my voice, could be the sounds in the room, could be the sound of your own heartbeat, could be the sound of some loud music at a neighbor's house. And then take that down to two things you see, two things you feel, and two things you hear. It can be some of the same things. You could notice new things in your environment, which would be great. And then finally take it down to one thing you see, one thing you feel, and one thing you hear. Now, if you notice, and if you did it the way I was trying to prescribe it, you're not going to have a whole lot of room for past or future. Now, there's a time for past and future, um, but there are also times where you need to be centered and present in the moment, particularly if you're feeling overwhelmed. Okay. So that's the centering technique. There's the heart coherence technique that we started. I'm going to run you through that what's called faster EFT tapping. Okay. And that's where, again, subjective units of distress, one meaning doesn't bother me at all, really, to 10 being I'm overwhelmed, I can't function. And pick something that's around a 6 or so, because I'm not there with you. If I was there with you, we could work on stuff that's 8, 9, or 10, even though I'm not a mental health professional, which some people might say recommends me anyway. But um, if I was there with you, we could work on bigger issues, and let me know if there's some things that you might want to get on a Skype, Zoom, WebEx, whatever kind of Cisco thing, and we can maybe talk about that. But for now, something around a 6. Um, a Zoom meeting that didn't go well. Um, Somebody who is close but not that close, but you're still a little concerned about because you haven't been able to contact them. A deadline for work, um, a job, some kind of proposal that was sent out, a child that might be frustrating to you, something around a 6. And as you think about that and that feeling of frustration, anxiety, tension, fear, locate it somewhere in your body. You have that? Okay, good. And once you have it, I want you to first take your 5 fingers and tap on the top of your head, that crown chakra, some people would call it, about 5 times, 5 to 7 times fairly firmly. And as you do that, say out loud, or if people are around and you're uncomfortable, say it to yourself, let it go. Then, middle of the forehead, right? The third eye, as some people would know it. Same thing, 5 to 7 times. Side of the eye, under the eye, collarbone, grabbing your wrist, inhaling from the diaphragm. And on the exhale, say or think to yourself the word peace. Notice where that feeling is now. Can you give it a number on that SUD scale? Let's go through one more time. Ideally, when you're working through with this EFT and there are different formulas, this is what's called faster EFT. So it's a faster way than regular EFT formulas. You want to stay with it until you knock it down to a 1. Okay, that's the goal, or 0, even though I didn't give you that as part of the scale. Again, thinking about whatever that issue is after you've located it in your body. Maybe it moved from that first time. Top of the head, third eye, middle of the forehead. Thinking each time, let it go, let it go. Side of the eye, let it go, let it go. Under the eye, let it go, let it go. collarbone. Let it go. Let it go. Grabbing the wrist, inhaling, exhaling, as you say to yourself or out loud the word peace. How's that feel? And you can continue listening to me, or if you really want, it's like, wow, this is actually moving some stuff for me in a good way. You can go through a third round, or you can, as you see, it doesn't take that long, so you can do it on your own. Um, I got so many things here. Yeah, and so as I mentioned, some of this stuff is again widening the window. So every time you come up on a stressful situation, and ideally none that are freezing you, right? But the kind of thing where it's a 5 or 6, even a 7, and you use some of the techniques I'm talking about, the heart coherence, the centering, with the 3 things you see, 3 things you feel, 3 things you hear, with the tapping, with breathing, and remember it's box breathing. 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 seconds. And you can do that up to 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds on the whole box. Or, and Dr. Andrew Weil's 4-7-8, inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. So the more you practice with these tools, the more they become a part of you, the more you'll take space and ownership in your body, the more you'll be in control of the energy the thoughts provide. And every time you're able to work something down on that subjective unit of distress scale, you are what's called widening your window. You're developing your tolerance for more stressful events. Because there are people who say, stress relief. I'm not sure that there's ever such a thing. I think it's more accurate to talk about, and more helpful in my experience, to talk about stress management. So you want to manage the stress. You want to widen the window. The more you're able to manage the stress, the more you're able, when something bothers you, to catch yourself and say, okay, now I'm going to breathe. Now I'm going to focus on my heart and extending that breath from my heart, and that love and gratitude to the person in front of me who's frustrating me, or to the people around me who are frustrating to me. I'm going to center myself. I'm going to do my box or ratio breathing. The more you can do that, the wider your window for stress will go, the closer you're going to you're going to get to being anti-fragile, okay, thriving in the kind of chaos we're facing now. Couple of other things, since we're coming up on the 20 minutes, and I've said I want to try to keep these to 20 minutes, and until I get a sense of who's watching, who isn't, and what your needs or concerns are. Because again, like I got my pages of notes here, bunch of bullet points. I could go through a bunch of things. I'm always working on stuff myself, and I'm a little concerned. As I mentioned, I'm 62 years old. I'm out there, as part of the things I do, I'm putting together container gardens for immigrant families and for kids, so that they can grow their own food and their own vegetables, because God forbid there's a second wave of this stuff. It's important for us to have agency and a sense of control over our lives. And we can't have it completely, and nothing in life is certain. But the more we have, and these tools that I'm trying to provide to you, or some of that, the gardens that I'm trying to provide to these kids, I also am out there delivering meals to seniors. I had one guy, I had to put him on a list. He'd been taken off for some reason, 102 years old. So thank goodness we got that straightened out. And so, I'm out there driving around, because of those things, not necessarily maintaining the physical distance, right? Not social distance. That's it. That's an op they're trying to put on us. Physical distance, not able to always maintain it. And so, yeah, the age thing is like a risk factor. I also got blood pressure, which is not where it needs to be. So all the tools I'm telling you, it's not because I'm some genius guru. It's because for all these years, if you were here on this first broadcast where I talked about the death threats and other things, the sexual abuse at the hands of a doctor, and so forth, these are all tools that I've discovered, developed, found, learned, been certified in, so that I can survive and in turn help the people around me survive. And so as I said, I value my humanity in many respects now at this age more than I worry about my mortality because we all die. And I want to wear out and not rust out. And so I have to be out there. And so the age thing, the blood pressure thing, yeah, it's in the back of my mind. And sometimes on certain days, I'll use some of these tools or some of the others we're going to discuss some other time to get myself in the proper state of mind because I believe that when I'm dealing with these families or with the older citizens that I'm delivering meals to as a volunteer, uh, they will sense my energy, and I want it to be positive energy. I want it to be an energy that's full of love. So I'm playing the game the same way you are, and like I said, it's not about being perfect, but it is about, in my opinion, staying in the game. So let me know what you'd like to hear from me.